So for this particular training, I am going to use our training site, which if you're not familiar with the training site, you have access to it. You just need this link right here. So I can actually I'll put this link in the chat. So the training site, a caveat with the training site is that the data is not as current as like our normal site that you use every day. The normal site is data gets like refreshed like every night, basically. The training site just a few times a year, kind of at the beginning of the semester, maybe 3 or 4 times throughout the year. So the data is not quite as fresh, but for like practice or for just like testing things out, you can utilize this training site to do a lot of like different things. And I'm going to use it today primarily for the whole session. To begin with, for in order for students to make appointments with you, or if you want to utilize TitanNet for like drop-in or walk-in appointments, what you have to start with is this tab that says My Availability. So when you click on the My Availability tab, you, I mean, if you're using this, then you will have availability. If you're not using it yet, then obviously there will be nothing here. Um, Creating availability is you telling the system like when you're available to meet with students. And that's basically like what kind of drives all of the it drives students' ability to make those appointments with you. So to create a new availability, you would use this actions drop down here, and then you would start by doing add time. It opens up, and you see along the top here, you have days of the week. So you would just select the days of the week that you want to set up your availability. Now, whatever days you select, the assumption here is that like whatever days you select, you're available on the same times. So like Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, I can set this up to be starting at 9 a.m. and then I can go to like 3 p.m. And so you have all the power here to choose when that starts and when it ends. For the duration, you have some options here. You have the forever option, which I don't really recommend this, although it's certainly like the least, like you would have to manage it the least. Um, I generally like range of dates, but you do also have the ability to set it up for like a specific term. So if you wanted to set up your availability for the entire term, so like right now we're in the summer, but we're, kind of looking forward to the fall 24 term. This would create availability for that entire term. And then once the term ends, then the availability becomes inactive. So it's really your call. Like I said, I always lean towards the range of dates, just gives you the most control. So you would choose a starting date. So like if I wanted this availability to start, let's say next week, so Monday the 15th, and then I can have it end, whatever day I choose, let's say around August 16th here. This um, this person availability link, I'll speak on it in a moment. You can keep it checked or unchecked. Um, and I'll kind of explain what it is in a little bit, but I can just check it for now. And then the type of availability, you have three different types. You have appointments, drop-ins, and campaigns. Today, we're just going to primarily focus on appointments and drop-ins. Later this summer, we'll do a whole session on campaigns. So we'll kind of address that then. But appointments and drop-ins. So appointments are going to be anything that is like scheduled in advance. So the student chooses a day and a time and they make an appointment. A drop-in is unscheduled. So it's basically time that like in your offices, whatever your like business practices are, like if you have dedicated times that you are like on drop-in or walk-in, then you can set up that time in the system and and setting up drop-in time is encouraged. It is a best practice because students can, first of all, they can see those drop-in times. And so they know, okay, hey, my advisor is available during these times. I'll make sure to go in and see them. Also, we do have some abilities for like online check-ins, and also for just like, um, when a student does come into your office, if you're utilizing like a kiosk or an appointment center flow, then they can check in for drop-ins and get put into a queue. And so we're going to look at queues later today. So that'll be something we'll take a look at. Um, you can select both at the same time. I don't, I mean, I'm not sure if I recommend that. I guess it really depends on like your office and how you handle things. In my experience, generally, like you would be doing one or the other, but again, that's totally like the landscape may be different where you're at, so it's okay. Just go with whatever your practice is. Um, so I'm going to set this one up for appointments. The meeting type we have in person, virtual, online. I know in the production site we also I think have phone, and I think we also have email as well as meeting types. Um, so I'm going to choose for this one. I'm going to choose in person, and then the care unit you would select. So you would select your care unit. I think most of y'all are probably in the advising care unit, but if you're in like the career center, we have the other services, or um, there's some other care units in here as well. And then you would select your location. So you just find your location. I'm going to use um, the AAC for my example here, and then services. So when you select your location, your services will be obviously the location drives whatever services are available. And you can select um, you can choose what services you want to be available for. So you can get really like very granular with this. Like if there are certain days that you only want to do GE advising, then you just create an availability specifically for that service. Um, and then down here in the special, I'm going to skip over this one for right now, because my availability I selected was in person, so this is not really applicable. But for the special instructions, um, you this is information for the student. So whatever you would want the student to know, or if there's any like instructions you have, then you would put it in this area here. Um, so, you can put in this is an in-person appointment. Please bring your campus ID. Um, uh, my office is in. So, you want to kind of be yeah, kind of whatever information that student's gonna need to know, you can put it in here. And you have the ability, you can format this in different ways. So I can, do an ordered list like this. You can do an unordered list, um, bold, italics. Yeah, you've got some options there. And this area down here, this would allow you to meet with multiple students at the same time. I don't, I'm not sure if people are doing that on this campus. I think generally it's mostly one-on-one. So if that's the case, just leave it at one. But if you did want to meet with multiple students at the same time, you could adjust this. But like I said, I don't think that's a common practice. And I see there's a few items in the chat, so let's see what we got. Is there an option for students? Okay, yeah, so free to answer that one. Um, to make sure the appointments are only available. Um, Okay, so Andrea's question, to make sure these appointments are only available to current CSUF students, is that correct? That is mostly correct, although graduated students do get access to TitanNet up to 1 year. Um, so, and that's primarily for them to meet with the Career Center. Um, current students, open university students, I'm trying to remember. So there are some extension programs that are so there are some extent all the there are a bunch of extension programs that are in the platform, like you can see the student data. Um, but I don't think they all have access. I have to actually check on this question about Open University. So, Briefta, do you mind just making a list? Like, can you compile a list of like follow-up questions? And this one about Open University would be a follow-up question.
Yes, definitely. I will do that.
Thank you so much. Okay. All right. I think that's all of those questions for now. Okay. Um, so once you've got your availability, you just hit save and then it's created. And then you can see your active availabilities. So again, this tab here, you can see your active availabilities. So these, um, I guess there's four of them here, these four rows. These are my active availabilities. These ones that are in the, I guess this is like a pinkish color. These are inactive. So these are just, again, this is the training site. Um, you can edit your availabilities by clicking either this one's upcoming, so upcoming edit or edit. You can click into it and then you can just make changes, um, as necessary. So this availability that I had created, I mentioned it was an in-person availability. If I wanted to, let's say I wanted to create like an availability for virtual, then what I could do with this one here is I can select it and I can copy it. And basically what that does is it brings over pretty much all of the information except the starting the date range of dates. So this one I'd have to go ahead and forget which date I chose here, but and then I can just change my meeting type to virtual. And then here when I choose a virtual meeting type modality, then I would want to include like my Zoom link. But I'm going to put in just a generic website for this because I can't remember what my Zoom link is. Um, but like this is where you would want to put in your Zoom link. And then your instructions, you'd want to change these a little bit as well. So I could say this is a virtual appointment, um, and we will meet at the link provided. Um, you can also, so the link will show up in a couple of places and I will show you where it shows up. Um, but I also, for me, I always put it in here as well as just kind of a redundancy. So it'll kind of show up in multiple places. Um, and then any other information you would want here as well, you can put that in there. And then you just save it. And so what you see here, these two rows are basically identical with the exception of the meeting type and the instruction. So, and the reason I think this is a best practice is because you really want these instructions to be specific to the modality because the student will see this information and it also is included in their like email reminders. Um, that they get prior to their appointment. And so if you're lumping them together, like the in-person and the virtual, you're having to lump all this information at once. And I think that can be confusing for students. I think it's better to just like essentially segregate the availabilities, so that your instructions and the link is all like specific to the availability that you created. And that's really it with the availability. If you have an availability like you no longer need anymore, so you can select it and then you can just hit delete time and that will delete it. Um, and so that's it. So that brings me to the person availability link. So that was the checkbox here. So let me just quickly go back here. So this checkbox, if you check it, it will add the availability to your link, your personal link. So the personal link will be, you just got to scroll down and it's going to be on this page. So the link you see here is your unique link. Like If you don't have one, the first time you check that box, it'll create one for you. And I'm pretty sure it will not change. Like once you create a personal availability link, that's like your link, I think, like kind of in perpetuity, but um, yeah, I don't think it'll change. Um, and so you can add availabilities to this link. Or if you only want certain availabilities to have a link, you can manage that as well. But basically, if you send this link to a student, let's say oh, you meet with a student, you have a great meeting with them, but you want to follow up with them, and they're like, here, I'm going to send you my personal availability link to schedule a follow up. When they click on that link, it takes them directly to your availability without the student having to go through like all of the like selection process, which we'll take a look at that in this training as well. But like you they don't have to go through any of that like care unit location. Like they can just go directly to your availability and it's just an easy way for them to schedule an appointment with you. And so it's helpful to like if you've got like if your office has like a website with like information about appointments, you could like put that link up there as well. Um, you could put it in like your email signature. So I mean, it's just like a really easy, helpful way to like help students get appointments with you. The other thing that I want to talk about is this scheduling target hours. And so this target hours per week, essentially what this will do is whatever value you have here. So this would be 10 hours per week. And then this is checked. If this is unchecked, then obviously, so block scheduling for the week. So when you check this, it means that after I have 10 hours of appointments scheduled for the week, no more appointments can be scheduled that week. And it's like a Monday, basically it's like a Sunday through Saturday week, but like obviously we just work Monday through Friday. Um, and so this is like a really good way to kind of like manage your workload in a way because you can create availability like you can create a lot of availability. Let's say you have availability for like 40 hours of appointments, which is like that's obviously not reasonable. But you only want to be like actually meeting with students for like um 25 hours during that week. Then you can set the target hours and then check the box and then update. You have to click the update. And that'll basically mean once you have 25 hours of appointments like scheduled with you, no more students can schedule with you that week. They would then be forced into the next, like a future week or whatever. So this is like a nice feature just to kind of like manage your workload. Also to make sure that you actually are maximizing your time because you can set your availability up like broad, like set it up for more hours than you would theoretically like want to be advising or meeting with students, but then use this setting to like limit the actual amount of meetings that you would time that you would be meeting with students. Okay. So that's kind of all I want to say about availability. Are there any other questions? Um, okay, so would it be possible to make same day appointments? So settings like so there are certain settings that we can configure that do limit like when students can make appointments, how far into the future students can make appointments. Um, and but that's all done on like the location level. So this is something that like we would have to work with your center director or somebody like because it applies to the entire location. It can't be set on like a personal level. It can be set there are some configurations, but it's all on the location settings, which you don't have access to. It's something like I would have to work with you on to do that. Um, so if you want to like investigate that with your particular office or location, just reach out to me. Okay, next question. Can all students see availability or only those? So, for example, if you want to limit the availability, so the personal availability link, it doesn't how do I explain this? Once you create your availability, it's visible like to every student with some exceptions. We do have the ability to limit visibility on the location level. So again, location settings are not configurable by you. It's something that I would have to work with you and your team on to do that. And I've done this with, many of the advising centers on campus already. Um, the personal availability link just takes the student directly to your availability. Now, let's say you send your personal availability link to a student and that student's talking to their friend and they say, "Hey, my advisor is great. Here's their link." That student that they send it to can then make an appointment with you if, again, if the location settings would allow it. Like I said, there are some visibility settings that we can configure on the location level, but we just need to. Sorry, I think I got booted out there. I'm back. Are you all hearing me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, sorry about that. Let me get back to the screen share. Okay, sorry, bear with me. I think my okay, there we go. All right, just waiting for my screen to load here. It's just taking a while. Okay, I guess while this is loading, let me talk about appointment queues. The appointment queues, once you create your availability, the appointment queues will, oh, maybe it's my internet died too. Okay. Um, oh, okay. So it seems like maybe the campus internet was interrupted. Um, I seem to be back right now. Okay, looks like people are getting back. Let me give folks a second to get back on here and then we'll pick up in just a second. Okay, there is a question here I can answer while we're just letting people get back online. Um, personal link. If I click on the link, yeah, so whatever availabilities you check that box for, the student will be able to see. So you can use that link if there's like a certain kind of appointment that you only want tied to that availability link, then you just make sure that that availability is the only one that you have that box checked. And then when you send it to the students, that's the only type of appointment that they can make. Okay. All right. I'm gonna continue. I think some folks are still jumping back on from that little hiccup. Um, okay. I had started to talk about appointment queues, but actually what I wanted to do was talk about appointment tab. So the appointment tab, once you set up your availability, it's going to be live. So students can see it. They can start scheduling appointments with you. And once they do so, those appointments show up in this appointments tab under upcoming appointments. So upcoming appointments means that those appointments are going to be in the future. And so I have this appointment set up. This is just for the demo today. This appointment is actually today at 10:30. So we'll kind of work with this appointment in a moment. Um, when you scroll down, you'll see recent appointments. These are going to be appointments in the past. And these appointments, I mean, depending on like how many students you meet with, this you'll have maybe multiple pages down here. And you'll see the details of the appointment. You can also see the attendees here, the time, and then this column report filed, and you can see some says not yet, some you can see the details here. So we'll talk a little bit about this as well. But I want to kind of come up here and talk about this upcoming appointment. So upcoming appointments, you can manage these appointments if you click on the details. Then you have the ability to edit the appointment. You have the ability to cancel the appointment as well. If you click on edit appointment, then it brings you to this screen that says edit an event. And this is this is a type of a scheduling grid that you can make changes to the appointment. So if I wanted to change this appointment time, like right now it's 10:30 to 11, I could uncheck that and move it to 11 a.m. Now, kind of, doing this kind of action would kind of, you'd want to communicate with the student, I think, because, they're expecting, because most of these appointments will be scheduled by the student. And so they're expecting to have that appointment at that time that they scheduled. So if you go and make changes, that's going to kind of throw off the student. Now, the student will be notified of changes, but I still kind of feel like there should be some communication, like with the student, like, hey, I need to change your appointment time, and then kind of like work with them on that. But this is how you can edit those appointments that way. I also mentioned that you can cancel appointments. So like if there was a reason that you needed to cancel an appointment, let's say you are ill or you just had some conflict that you really just can't resolve, then you can cancel it by clicking cancel appointment. And then here, so it's asking cancel the appointment for. You always choose entire appointment. Um, if you select like one of the names here, so this is the student and this is me. If I select just I cancel it just for me, the student, it still shows up on the student's calendar. Like they still will have that appointment on their calendar. So you always want to select entire appointment. And then there are just a couple of reasons that you would like just choose whatever is appropriate here. I think probably other is fine. Um, and then the comments here, um, these are visible to the student. So like so once you've done all this here, you select entire appointment, select the reason. When you mark as canceled, it will cancel the appointment and then it's going to send notifications to all parties. So the student will get notified, like you're going to get a notification as well. But these comments are in that notification. So I think the comments are really great because it just lets the student know like that you're not like flaking on them, but like there's like a reason that why you need to cancel it. But also you don't want to put any like real personal details in here that you wouldn't want like the student to know. You can just kind of, hey, really sorry, you need to cancel your appointment. Let's reschedule. That kind of a comment is perfect. But yeah, mark is canceled, and then I'm not going to do this, but the screen will just kind of update, and then the appointment will be canceled. All right. Other things that you can do here. So for these upcoming appointments, like if I select it, I can send a message to this student. So I can just send them a message, either an email or a text. So this might be something that if you want to provide them some information before their appointment, you can do that. You can also issue an alert. So we did kind of touch on this in the last session. So if you wanted to issue an alert, like one of these alerts, you could do that here as well. You have the option to cancel the appointment as well here. And then you also have the option to do the appointment summary, add appointment summary. Um, I don't really recommend you do that at this point because we haven't actually met with the student yet. Um, although in some cases, maybe you had met with a student and maybe they came early and they just didn't check in or something. Um, you could do the appointment summary then. But you also have the ability to do appointment summaries down here. So I think in a lot of ways, it's better to wait for the appointment to move down. The appointment will move down. This appointment will move down at 11:01 because the time of this appointment is 10:30 to 11. So basically at 11:01, this appointment will no longer be an upcoming appointment. It'll be a recent appointment. And so it moves down and then you'll see it down below here. All right. So what I want to do is I'm going to go through the workflow of like what it's like if students are checking in for their appointments, what it looks like for you, and then how you kind of like manage that. So to do that, I'm gonna open up another tab, and I'm gonna do an appointment center. So the appointment center, if you're not familiar with it, we do have a session on appointment centers later this summer. Um, the appointment center is a area where you can check in students for appointments. If you're like a manager, like or a supervisor, like you can kind of see like who's checked into your location. There's a lot of different things you can see in the appointment center. So it is like a helpful area, but primarily it's where you would check students in. So I'm just gonna check this student in. Okay, so again, I'm not going to go into a lot of details here, but I am going to check in the student. And now you notice this notification popped up for me right here. So this is letting me know that there is a student that was added to my waiting list. So I'm going to come over here. Let me refresh my screen. So you notice now that I don't have any upcoming appointments because that student now has checked into the location for their appointment. So there is an icon up top here that you can see. This is my queue, and you can see that the student is checked in. But then there also is a tab that says appointment queues. And this is where I can see students that are checked in for appointments. So the student is now checked in for their appointment. And um, when I'm ready, I'm going to like start and I'm going to work with the student. But before I do that, I'm going to check in another student because I want to show you a couple of different things as it relates to queues. So let me just pull up an ID. Okay, so again, I'm just going to do this kind of quick just to get this student checked in. Uh, so what I'm checking in right now is a non-scheduled appointment. So uh, that's a drop-in basically. Okay, so now I'm back here, and sorry, I'm switching between tabs. So I have a student checked in for an appointment, and then I also have a student checked in for a drop-in. Okay, and this student who's checked in is specifically dropped in with me. Because first available no means that they want to meet specifically with me. I'm going to do one more student here. Okay. Okay. So now we can kind of get like a full picture of Um, actually, sorry, one more. There was a reason why I had three test IDs ready. Perfect. Okay. All right. So now we can get a really full picture of what this appointment queues tab looks like and what it does. So the first thing here is the notification methods. I don't know if you heard it when I was checking in students, but I have it configured to make like a ding sound. It kind of sounds like it's not like a high pitched ding. It's like a low tone ding. But you can also get notified by email or text message if you want to enable that. Personally, I don't want these enabled, but if you do, you can check those boxes. But the ding is good as well. There's also the visual that pops up. So if you're like working on, in TitanNet and you've got the screen up, regardless of where you are, if you're in another page, it's fine. Like that notification comes up in the bottom right-hand corner that you saw. Um, you will see now that I've got a student checked in for an appointment. There are students checked in for drop-ins, one of which is a not first available, which means that they want to meet specifically with me personally. There's another student that is in the drop-in queue, and first available, yes, means they don't really they don't mind who they meet with. They just want to meet with the first available, you know, person. And then down below here, I can see that there is a student checked in with another advisor. And again, this is all location specific. So in this example, Farifta and we work in the same location. And so we can see that there's a student that is in Farifta's queue. Now, if Farifta was logged into the training site right now, she would have a student probably in this queue, and she would see it up here. But I can see it down below here because it's in Farifta's queue. So when I'm ready to meet with, the students in the queues, there's a couple of things that I would want to do first. And I always recommend that before you start an appointment, I usually do a right click and then do open link in new tab. That opens up the student profile in a new tab. And here you can see just the different student data. And this maybe is not the best example of data that you would have available. Here, let's do Yes. Okay. So a little bit better example is we've got an active student. We can see the overview. So again, if you were in the session a couple weeks ago, we went through all this already. So you can review all this information, look at the student's history, see what kind of, what other appointments they've had. You can read up on the notes. And then um, when you're ready to meet with a student, so I can see these notes here. You would go back to your tab, and I'm going to start the appointment. So I'm going to do this one here because this appointment should have started at 10:30. I'm going to go ahead and click on actions and start appointment. And what that does is it opens up this summary. And so the summary just kind of like stays open. You just kind of like, you just let it live here. And then what you can do is jump back over to their profile to kind of, as you're working with them and talking with them, answering their questions, asking them questions. I mean, you probably got the TDA. I mean, you'll be using probably other resources as well, other tabs. It's totally fine. Just kind of leave that summary kind of here so that when you're done, you can come back to it. You can minimize the summaries. So if you hit the minimize icon, then it does minimize it and it puts it up here. So this little minimize dialogues, this is that report. And then I also want to point out that we no longer have a student checked in for an appointment, but now we have an in progress visit. So now I can see this in progress visit that is happening. And so you're just doing your, doing your advising with the student, meeting with them, all that kind of stuff. When you're done, you can basically what I like to do or what I used to do is just close out the profile and then come back to my main tab, open up that summary, and now I'm going to go ahead and um, fill out my summary. So this is a summary report. So we did some trainings on summary reports back in I think it was March or April. I think probably a lot of you have seen those, and we're using as appointment summaries now to document as our main kind of means to document those advising or those counseling, career counseling touch points. So you can do your summary here. You can add attachments. Um, this for the scheduled appointments, these are going to be all pre-filled out. So the care unit, the location, the service. Um, this is the service that was scheduled, but if let's say we also talked about, we did some major exploration as well, right? We can also include that in the summary. This is an in-person meeting. I don't have to do anything here. So the date and the time, pretty much this is all, you don't have to do anything. It's just going to be pre-populated. Um, and when you're ready, you just hit save and check out the student. And so that's done. If I go back to my appointments tab here, we can see this appointment right here is that's the one, 7:10, 10:30 to 11. So it's done. If I go back to my appointment queues, now I've got these drop-ins. So this student here waiting to meet with me. So again, the workflow kind of just the same. So just open up, link in a new tab, take a moment, review everything here. I usually look at the history real quick just to see. I mean, we're in the training site, there's not a lot of data to look at, but just kind of see like what other contacts a student has in different places or with, maybe even with me in the past. Like to look at the courses here, look at what courses they're taking, what grades, he's a pretty good student. And then when I'm ready, I would just same thing. So there isn't really a big differentiation between like your scheduled appointments and your drop-in appointments or your walk-ins. You're just gonna start appointment, so actions and start appointment. And again, I would just keep this up, and then like if it's a physical like in person, then go greet the student, bring them back to my cubicle or office, have that meeting with them. If it's an online appointment, um, hopefully they're like waiting for you in the waiting room, or something, however you got that set up. So you can just meet with them that way. And then once you're done, you just close this tab. I'm back to my summary. Okay. The meeting type is not going to be captured with the drop-in, so I would want to identify that here. And then the date of the visit and the meeting start times, these will be pre-populated based on when like you actually start that appointment. So you don't have to do anything with that. And the end time will get populated once you hit save and check out. So you really don't have to do anything here either. You just want to make sure that you're looking at this information, making sure that this has all got all the accurate information that you want in it. And then obviously your summary. And then you can just hit save and check out the student. And so if I go back to my appointments tab, there's that appointment, just a 1-minute appointment, short but sweet. And let me see, I lost track of the chat. Are there any questions? And it doesn't look like I see any questions. Okay, no questions. If there are, feel free to drop them in the chat. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about this students and other staff queues. So here we have an example where there is a student that is in a queue for another team member. Let's say, okay, so this student's been waiting now 9 minutes, going on 10 minutes. And maybe like in this, kind of scenario, Farita is like with another student and, it's like she really cannot, like maybe that student is in some sort of crisis or just like she can't seem to end the meeting because she really needs to focus on the current student she's meeting with. You can take students off other people's queues. So even though the student is checked in with Farita, you can pull them off. Now, I mean, probably some communication would be important here. Maybe sending a message to Farita on Teams saying, "Hey, there's a student in your queue. Do you want me to take it?" Um, I mean, you might also need to explain to the student, "Hey, I'm really sorry, but my colleague is really busy with another student. I'm going to try to help you out. If I can't help you out, we can definitely schedule another time for you to come back and meet with, Farifta or whoever it is." Um, but basically, I can just pull this student off the queue. So I can just hit start appointment. And now basically that student is mine. I've started the appointment and it becomes mine now. So I would just do the same workflow as, I mean, I should have opened up that profile again, but yeah, I would just meet with the student, do my summary, select my meeting type, and then I can just save and check out whenever I'm done. And so then that became my appointment, this one right here. Okay, so there's a question. Is there an easy way under reporting to see the reports within the unit? So, uh, is the question about all the reports on that particular student or all the reports for all the specific location?
It's a question about specific location.
Yes, the answer is
So,
yes. Um, and we're going to look at that in just a minute or so. Because you can run reports and see, yeah, the answer is yes. We'll get to that in a second. All right. Any other questions before I move on? So, okay, a couple of things before I do move on is under the recent appointments, you can see that there are my reports filed here. You can also do what we call you could do an ad hoc summary report. So let's say like you meet with a student, but they don't check in anywhere. Like they never get into a queue for whatever reason. They never get into a queue, but you still met with that student. You can do so on the profile. You have this link. This is report on appointment. So when you click it, then it will open up the summary report. These the care unit and the location like I have these set up as my default. If you don't have this set up, I'll show you how to do that. Then oops, you actually have to, put in the care unit if you don't have it by default. But then you would select the service here, select the meeting type, and then it's the summaries are it's like this is always just the same process basically. Okay. Um, the only difference is that the meeting start time will be whenever you opened up that summary. So if like this is something that happened, let's say it was earlier, like around 10:15, and you can be like really specific, like 10:18, and then maybe again if like you're like really paying attention to the time, you can just type in very specific information here. You should try to be as accurate as possible, but like I don't think anyone's gonna like hound you for like exact minutes. Like, um, just try to be as accurate as possible. But that's it. Then you would just hit save report, and if we If I refresh this here. Hold on. Yeah, so this is it right here. 1018 to 1046. So you can be like really specific here. The other thing I want to show you is that let's say, so this appointment was in the past, but there's no summary, there's no report filed because the student didn't show up for their appointment. So I'm going to mark that as a no-show. So I select it and then I choose mark as no-show. And then for this, you don't have to do anything here. You can just leave it blank. But basically what's going to happen is that in the summary report, it's going to identify that this is, so this will be you. This is you're the, the advisor, the counselor, whatever. You attended, but the student did not attend. They're unchecked. So that just means that that's just what identifies this as a no-show. And then you can save report. And then now you can see that says no-show. So it is, I think it's important to mark those no-shows for your reporting. Because again, you can see, like you'll be able to like run pretty robust reports on, um, like attended appointments, no-shows, cancellations, and all that. All right. So availabilities, appointment queues, appointments, summary reports. Are there any questions before we go on to the reporting, the like the B3 reports? Okay, doesn't look like anything's coming through. All right, so let's move on to the reports. Okay, so this icon, so my screen probably looks a little bit different from yours, but this icon will be pretty much at the bottom, if not at the very bottom, is the reporting area. So when you click on this, it takes you to the reports area. So there's a couple of different things here. These are my saved reports. So these are all the reports that I have created and saved. If you've never used these reports, then you won't have anything here. But then you have the standard reports, and this is where you can see all the different kinds of reports that you can run. And you may not have all of these reports, but certainly the three that I'm gonna showcase right now are the appointment report, the appointment summary report, and the check-in report. So we're gonna start with the appointment report, which is this one right here. And you can search. So if you just start typing in, then it'll start to it should start to filter. So here's the appointment report right here. And I think later this summer, so I'm gonna show like broad strokes with these reports, and then later this summer we've got where did it go? Where did that go? Okay, I don't know where that report went. Oh, here it is. Oh, it's appointments report. Okay. Yeah, so sorry, what I was saying is I'm gonna show the broad strokes here, but then later this summer, I think we're gonna do another like real like focused deep dive on like more ways to like filter and to like do these reports. Also, we're gonna look at some other types of reports that are available as well. So um that's you can sign up for that session as well. All right, so real basic, what you have to do is you have to add fields. So the field, I, I just always recommend that you start with the location as your first field. So once you select location in the field, then you put in the value. So I'm going to use undeclared an academic advising center as my example, but whatever your location is, you would select that as your location. And then the next field, scheduled start date. And then you have a condition here. So you can choose date range, but you also have like the option to choose like last. And then you could do like last 30 days if you wanted to do that kind of a thing. So it really does um it really does depend on like how you want to do this. I always like range of dates personally. Just gives you the most flexibility, most control. But again, like if you want to set up something like, yeah, like the last 30 days, last week, you can do it that way as well. So let me run this. I'm gonna just go way back just so I can get a bunch of data. Let's see, March 1st through today. Okay. Um, so I'm just gonna run, these are the only two filters I'm gonna use right now. I am going to include the canceled appointments and I am going to include the no-shows, but you can uncheck those. Um, I am also going to include my inactive users just because I'm in the training site and um, I think I have inactive users in here. Probably in your case, you would not really need to choose inactive users, but just it's an option for you. All right, so I'm going to run the report. So the appointments report is going to show you all of the appointments. Now, it it's going to be well, yeah, let's wait to run it. Let's wait till we get the data so I can kind of talk through it all. It shouldn't take too long. Okay, so here is some data, and there's not a bunch. It's only 23 rows. Um, so the first thing I want to point out is this icon right here that says, so these like icons, this one that's it's the second one here, the view column manager. This will allow you to select and unselect columns. So whatever columns you want, then you can just check or uncheck, um, accordingly. So most of them I would probably end up just keeping, um, but you can see there's a lot of columns. Okay, so once you select the columns you like, then you can go back and you want to view the grid table. So basically you've got like all your students here, email, CWID, majors, there's GPAs, active care units, scheduled service, um, location, the meeting type, appointment. This is scheduled meeting type, appointment type. So this is drop-ins. So it does include both scheduled and drop-ins, start dates, the times, end times, the duration here, when the appointment was created, who it was created by. So like, so a lot of these obviously were created by me, but like, you can see that this one was created by the student. Um, attendance created at, so this is like when the summary was like submitted. So that's always going to be me. Associated with a campaign. So if you're running like appointment campaigns and the appointment was part of a campaign, this would say yes. And then if it said yes, then it tells you what campaign that was part of. Um, check-in times here. Group appointment. These will be probably all no's unless it's a part of a campaign. So canceled. So this one was canceled. And then the reason it was canceled, you can see, and then who canceled it. So the summary report filed, yes and no. So if the report wasn't filed, then maybe it was a canceled appointment, maybe it was a no-show, or just um, maybe then you just need to go back and submit those summary reports. All right. So you get it in this format, but maybe you want to like pull it out and work with it like on Excel. So this export icon right here, you can click on that and again, you can just name it whatever you want to name it. I'm just going to call this one. Okay. So then once you export it, save it in whatever location you want to save it on your computer or Dropbox or whatever. And then you get the data in like an Excel type file. So it's all the data is all the same. It just is going to be in a Excel sheet like this. And so you can obviously like sort, filter. Yeah, you can do anything you want with this Excel sheet here. Okay, so that's a really basic appointment report. One thing before I move on is this one is unsaved. But let's say I want to save this report. And I actually really recommend this. Like if you, especially if it's like you've never created any reports before, like just do a simple report, location, scheduled start date, and then save it. And so, okay, save as new report. Once you save it, what you're saving here is your filters. So if I go back to the reporting area, under saved reports, it's right here, the training report, appointment report. So when you click into it, it just brings all your filters back up. So essentially all you would have to do then is when you want to run it again is just change your dates. And then just, just go ahead and change your dates and then hit run report and it'll run again based on the criteria that you have here. So that's definitely a recommended best practice. Okay, so I'm gonna go back and we're gonna look at the appointment summary report. So the appointment summary report is going to be a report that gives you data on the summaries that are created. So again, just like really really simple, like just doing the location and scheduled start date. And I think I'm gonna try to do the same date range as I did before. Um, I'm gonna include canceled and no shows. I'll also include these guys just in case. Run report. So I think, okay, last time, the last summary report we ran, or not, sorry, the appointment report, I think had 23 students. This report only has 16 students for the same date range. Reason being is these are the only appointments that have summaries. So on that appointment report, so so this appointment report, there is a column on here. I can find it really quick. So summary report filed, yes or no. So if I select only the yeses, 16. So that matches exactly. Okay. So the appointment summary report is giving you only the appointments that have appointment summaries. And appointment summaries are super important because appointment summaries are really the best way that we have to validate that a student attended an appointment. There's another report I'm going to show you called the check-in report, which you can get, there's definitely good information in there, but the summaries are really, really crucial because that's how we validate that, yes, someone did meet with the student and here is the evidence to prove it. Okay. So again, show my column manager here. You can, whatever columns you want in this report. I'm gonna uncheck all of these ones. We don't use these we don't use these. I'm just gonna get rid of them all. Oh my gosh, okay. But I do want to keep this summary because that's important. So let me go back to my report. So again, all the columns you can see along the top here, but I'm gonna go all the way to the end. So this column, the summary, actually has the data from that summary box. And so um, you can actually export this. So export it and then open it up. And go over to the end here. Yeah, so you actually get like the output from those appointment summaries, which is pretty cool. Um, because you can actually see that like data. Um, and then let's see here. I see there's a question in the chat, so I'll come back to that in a second. So, okay, we're going a little deeper with this one. If you include a field that says summary and you add in like a value, so I'm just going to type in this value edited and I'm going to rerun it. So I have 4 summary reports where in the summary, edited was included. So this is like a really powerful way, like if you're working with students and you're like, and you're really like clean about how you create summary notes, um, you can search on phrases. You can search on, um, GE exception or disqualification or academic notice, right? I mean, those are services. You can also filter, um, let me get rid of this field. I mean, I didn't really mention that. I mean, we'll go there. So there is a filter for like reported and scheduled services. So if you do reported services and you choose like a value here, so this would also apply. This filter is also applicable to the other report I showed you, but you can run it. So 13 of them are GE evaluating. So you can search for scheduled or reported. So it really just kind of depends on um, how you want to approach it. Okay. So question, are appointment summaries also used as a methodology? The question is, are appointment summaries also used as a method of outreach when appointments are not actually hosted by the communication is needed? Yes, I think so. I think the question is asking, in a way, it's asking when should we use appointment summaries? You should use appointment summaries anytime you really have interaction with a student. Um, but you do also have the option to use notes. So the main difference between an appointment summary is that the appointment summary should indicate like contact, like some sort of advising contact with that student. Not all contact is a meeting though. Sometimes you're emailing with a student and like you're kind of advising them through email. So in the appointment summaries, you can create um, you can create a summary. I don't think we have it in the meeting type here. Oh yeah, we do have email. You could select the meeting type as email, which would indicate that yes, I've been working with the student, but I've been working with them through email. and then you would use this appointment summary that way. Or maybe there was a phone call, right? So you interact with them through the phone. So the meeting type was a phone call. Um, so that's, yeah, I think that if that doesn't answer your question, then please follow up. But I think that's what you were asking. Okay. Um, all right. Last question or last report we're going to look at. So again, this report, if you have not created one of these before, you can save it, save as, and just call it your summary report. So you can see I have appointment summary saved. I have different, these are all training, but I have different kinds of reports saved here. Okay, last report is the check-in report. So the setup for this is no surprise, using a location. And then instead of schedule date, you do check-in date. Okay. And essentially you just choose whatever the date range you want to use. And then I'll use my inactive as well. So run report. So the check-in report is going to show you only when a student checks in. So that was when I was over here in like this appointment queue area, like the appointment center, right? And I like had showed you, I looked up the student here and like I had checked them in, right? So when you check in a student, that's what this report gives you. And they can check in through a kiosk. Um, I'm not going to go into that today because we'll do that in the session dedicated to appointment centers and kiosks. But um, but you can see that so my date range is the same I've been using. It's March 1st through today, and I only have 20 check-ins. So that means there have been, I think, so 3 appointments that we have in that appointment report that were not checked in. So the check-in report again gives you again column manager, so you can use that. It's a lot of the same information will be found in all these reports, but now you've got check-in date, check-in time, check-out date, and then checkout time, and then this duration column. So a lot of these durations are going to look wonky because just of like the training site and what just not really like, these aren't realistic times, but you can see the staff names and staff emails here. Um, so if your office, if you have like, so not all services are going to be appointment based, right? Like you might have a computer lab, you might have a study room where you want to track students who like are just studying or who are using your resource center. You can have them check in and to that location, and then you can get that report through here. The example you're seeing right now is primarily for like appointment check-ins, but like students can check into a location for a lot of different reasons. And so we're going to talk more about that in the training dedicated to this. But those are those reports. You can save that. You can save this report as well if you choose to. All right. Are there any questions that anyone has?